Honesty is the best policy. Let's change that. Honesty is the best policy, but there are always options. Well, we always want to avoid different things that we don't like. For example, sometimes we like to avoid some people, okay? Some people want to avoid the truth. Maybe you want to avoid your math homework, or maybe you want to avoid taking your dog for a walk when it's raining. Or maybe if you're too tired, you want to avoid taking out the trash. Or maybe your Aunt Martha, who's called you for a day, you don't want to spend the time with her. So how will you avoid her? Well, how you're going to avoid her is your problem, but how you're going to talk about avoiding something is my problem. Because in this lesson today, I am going to give you about 10 alternatives to the word avoid. How can you replace the word avoid with some other interesting, useful words that could be used in a lot of situations? This lesson is going to be a lot of fun. Keep watching it with me. My name is Michelle and you're watching me on Let's Talk. So here we are, guys, where we have a lot of alternatives to the word avoid. So let's look at the first word, indifferent. Well, this word has nothing to do with different, and it is not the opposite of different as you might think when you read this word. Indifferent basically means when you don't care about something. Think of a person who does not care about which party wins the votes, the maximum votes. So when this person goes to vote, what he does is he flips a coin and then gives the vote. If, he gets the other side, then he would vote for one party, and if he gets the other side, he would vote for another party. So do you think he really cares about who wins? Well, no. So this person is indifferent about who wins, which means he does not care. So an indifferent person does not care. If you don't care about what other people think of you, you could say, I'm almost indifferent about how other people think of me. Great. Now with this, let's look at the next one, and that is evade. So evade is when you escape something, okay? When you escape a situation very cleverly, when you're very trickfully escaping a situation, all right? So a person who cleverly escapes a situation. How about you having had all the cookies in the jar which were at your home, and then your mom comes and asks you, hey, where are all the cookies missing? And then you try to evade her question, which means you escape her question by quickly switching to another topic. So that's what evading means. And if you want to use it in a sentence, you could say that he skillfully evaded all my questions. Or you could say that he evades his responsibilities very cleverly. For example, whenever somebody comes home, this guy just goes out so that he does not need to host any guests or help at work. That's called evading. All right. Now, let's talk about the next verb, which is alluding. Alluding is very similar to evading in the pronunciation, so do not get confused. So it also means escaping, but, well, alluding has a very slippery feeling. So if you've got oily hands and if you want to hold a glass, obviously the glass will slip out of your hand. So in that case, the glass is eluding you, okay? Let me explain it in a much better way. Alluding could be, if you don't like math, maybe you don't like math at all. So you could say that math eludes me, which means it's very hard for me to understand, okay? Something that is hard for you to grasp or understand is eluding, all right? Something which is hard to grasp. As an example, you could say, I have been working so hard to understand chemistry, but it just eludes me, which means I'm just not able to understand it. It's so hard to understand it, okay? And this is how you could use allude. Now with this, let's look at the next verb that we have. And this is misdirect. So this word has something to do with direct, okay? It has something to do basically with directions. Directions means to guide someone, okay? But when you guide a person wrongly, that's when you misdirect them, okay? Which means to wrongly guide someone. To wrongly guide someone towards a place, or maybe to give them wrong suggestions. So it could be physical as well as mental. Physical would be to misguide on the directions, and mental would be to misguide with giving wrong suggestions. So this is something similar to misunderstanding, which means to understand someone wrongly. The same way misdirect means to guide someone or something wrongly. To use it in a sentence, you could say that the post office misdirected the package to the wrong address. Well, in that case, I hope you have the tracking number to get the package back. All right, now let's look at the next one, skirting. So does this have to do something with skirt? Well, skirt is a type of cloth that's worn on the bottom by females, but this one has not anything to do with skirting. Skirting purely means avoiding. And you will often hear this word in the news. We often see politicians avoiding some questions, right? So you could say that the politician was skirting questions about the latest scam, which means he was avoiding questions about the latest scam. And you could use it, of course, in a more formal situation, like in an essay or something like that. Okay, with this we move forward and look at the next option. Achoo! Okay, that's almost how it's pronounced. Achoo! This is eschew, and this word is not so common for the reason that it's very hard to pronounce and it's almost like we are sneezing. So eschew means again to avoid something. Here it means to avoid something intentionally, okay, or deliberately. Basically it means to abstain from something. So think of vegetarians. Vegetarians do not eat meat. So this means they do not eat meat by their own will. They decide not to eat it. So they abstain from it. Take another example. What about people who are dieting? They eschew chocolates, which means they avoid having chocolates because they think it will make them very fat. So that is eschewing, when you not do something because when you don't do something intentionally. So eschewing is abstaining from something. So we could say that vegetarians eschew all kinds of meat. All right. Now with this, let's look at the next one, circumvent. All right, so now like we had this one, evade, which is to cleverly escape a problem. Circumvent means to smartly escape a problem. So it is something similar to evade, but not completely similar. So to smartly escape a problem. So circumvent is usually used in work situations where you're working. So you could say that if we don't circumvent this problem, we will not be able to find a solution. So basically it means to smartly, carefully escape a problem by finding solutions. Wonderful. Now with this, let's go forward and look at some more verbs which could be used to replace avoid. Have you seen dodgeball? What happens in dodgeball? So in dodgeball, a player tries to avoid the ball, which means if the ball is coming at them, they have to avoid it. They have to stop the ball from coming towards them. And to do that, either they do it like this or they move, all right? So dodge means to quickly move in order to avoid something, all right? To quickly move, to avoid something. If you're standing somewhere and there's a flower pot which is falling on you from a ledge or from a shelf, then you would have to quickly hop to the other side. That's when you're dodging the flower pot, which means you're avoiding the flower pot by suddenly moving, okay? And to use it in a sentence, if you're talking to somebody and they are trying to jump to different topics to escape and avoid your questions, you could say that, don't try to dodge my questions. I want my answers right now. Well, that's a very serious way of asking someone to answer you. So dodge, here it is for you. To move quickly or to jump to a different topic quickly in order to escape or avoid questions. Okay, now the next one is obviously a phrasal verb, all right, where we have a verb and a preposition. Fake out. So fake out means to fool someone. Yes, fake out means to fool someone with your fancy ideas. Let me help you. Do you remember that guy from school who suddenly became your friend when the final exams were coming closer? Yes, and what he did is he copied your chemistry papers. Well, that's all he wanted. And after that, he didn't speak to you. So basically, you were faked out, which means you were fooled by that person, okay? Now, fake out could be used when you're talking to someone. You could say, I'm not going to get faked out by your fancy ideas. I'm not joining you for this party. So, fake out means to fool someone and to avoid them, all right? Now, with that, we move to the last verb for the day, which is a very formal verb, which means to divert. So, divert, all right. You would have heard this word in the news and even on the radio. What happens when there's an accident on the road? There's a roadblock and suddenly there's a jam, traffic jam. So, what does the police do? Police diverts the traffic, which means they ask the traffic to go through a different direction. So when the police asks the traffic to go through a different direction, what they are basically doing is they are diverting the direction, which means to change the direction or to change the route of something. To change the route. You know, you can divert someone's attention also. Right, this is like mental diverting. For example, if you're planning to give a surprise party to your best friend, the best thing would be to divert their attention, which means to distract them, okay, by bringing their focus to something else, okay. So that's what you mean by diverting somebody. Have you ever seen a magic show? Right, so when the magician tries to put a rabbit in the cap and then later he tries to pull out, what he'll do is he'll distract you at the time when he's trying to put the rabbit in the cap so that you're not able to see. So that is diverting, which means to change a person's direction or to change a person's attention. Alright, so diverting could be used in the sentence when you can say that the police diverted the traffic so that the accident block could be handled. So this is how you can use all these words to talk about to talk about avoiding, which means that you can use them all in different situations at different places, and these are verbs. I hope that your knowledge about avoiding has been increased today. Well, all the best avoiding all the people and all the best talking about avoiding people. Thank you so much for staying with me. I'll see you guys very soon. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.